what kind of a guy was Tommy Tucker?
He's a jewel, really. If Tommy sees that you're trying to do something, he jumps behind you. No strings attached. He's just there for you.
French play. Tommy Tucker bail bond. Yes, ma'am. I'm Tommy Tucker. I operated Tommy Tucker's Playroom at 4907 West Washington Boulevard near La Brea for 23 years and 9 months. And I'm also in the bail bond business since 1962. I decided that I would buy a bar. At that time, it was a Caucasian bar. It's called Nicky's Playroom. So I bought it, and I changed the name to Tommy Tucker's Playroom. So I operated for 23 years and 9 months. Then I leased it out to a fellow named Herb Hudson, who had a place called Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle. Unfortunately, we had misunderstandings, and I had to put him out. A friend of mine in Chicago, Truman Gibson, he talked me into getting fighters, which they ate quite a bit, and I got these fighters, and then other fighters started coming into my playroom, into the bar, and I never had a champion. I had a close to a champion. In the playroom, I put in a charbroiler because they like to eat. All fighters at that time, they love to eat. I had one fighter that come in and order 2 steaks and didn't have a fight. When the first fight he had, he got knocked out in the first round, so I got rid of him. I had quite a number of fighters. When I decided that I was going to open this playroom, I had met John Hall, Bud Farella, Brad Pye. Brad Pye, he had a radio program, and he had overheard at Tommy Tucker's Playroom. Brad was very helpful in helping me get business. I was the first in the Afro-American area, especially in the restaurant business, as what I know about, to get where you could sign a credit card. I use a credit card. So when I applied to put my establishment with the credit card with American Express, they told me that it would be impossible because I would be too close to someone else with a credit card, another restaurant. So I explained to them that out on Restaurant Road, they were next door to each other, and that I was a life member of the NAACP, and I felt that that was a discrimination. So therefore, if I will have to contact the NAACP and explain to them. The next morning, the fellow came out and told me that I was listed and signed me up. I operated this business, and I met a lot of people, Joe Louis and different people from the top to the bottom. I had a lot of people come in, waiters and busboys and celebrities, and it was good. Well, I liked the business, and I enjoyed it. I tried to run a first-class place. I had the tablecloths on all the tables, waiters and waitresses, and I gave the people a top line of food. Bar was in the front as you walk in off of Washington, and then you went through a little hall, and the dining room was in the back, but they could also eat in the front if they wanted to sit. That was where most of the clientele for the bar was. And they would, and then they could come through the back door. Truman Gibson, being head of the boxing, International Boxing Association, I'd go around with Truman, and I met these guys, and then they would come to my establishment because Truman was the top man. He was he was the head of the boxing he's the cause of Truman and Joe Sick and them going to the penitentiary. But Truman didn't go, but Joe and them, they for muscling in on Don Jordan's contract. Jordan just died last year before. Somebody stuck him up down in San Pedro. He was working as a longshoreman down there, and they beat him up pretty bad, and he died. After Truman and them had the problem, I got completely away from it. I just pulled away from it because in talking to a lot of people in one of those things, I figured it would be best that I didn't bet on it, because unless you're in on the no, you make no dough. I'll put it like that. Up at the top there, Mickey Cohen was my celebrity bartender. I put the glove on him to tell him he couldn't go. I'd keep him from going in my cash register. We formed a friendship, no business. I never did 1 ounce of business with him. A lot of people thought when he died, some of the people even said, well, Mickey's family is going to take over the Playroom because he's gone, you know what I mean? But Mickey and I were personal friends on a social level. Like I introduced him to Brea Washington, and they invited him one night to come to an affair. They asked me to bring Mickey. So I said, okay. So I told him, I said, hey, Mike, they want you to come to this affair, and you got to have a tux on. He said, a tux? I don't have no tux. I said, you got to get one. Mickey went in to wash his hands, and when he came back out, he was a nut with washing his hands and things. So when he came out, we were walking over to the table. Dinah had us sitting at the same table, at her table. So we were walking over to the table, and people were running up to him and asking for his autograph and one of those things. I told him, I said, man, they acting like you some type of a celebrity or something. He laughed about it. He was just a nice guy. I didn't see the bad side of him. I saw the good side. But as I said before, we never had no personal business. It was just a friendship. Because at that time I was hanging around with different entertainers and things like that. I knew Nat Cole and all the different entertainers, and he'd go to these places. He had a place on Highland, and Mickey, and the guy that he booked in there, I knew him, was Sammy Davis and all of them. Even the police asked me, said, why does Mickey Cohen come in your place? I said, the same reason why he go to Ciro's out on the strip. I said, what difference does it make? I said, I got good food, and he's a friend of mine. They couldn't believe that, but I cared less. I didn't go to the Hollywood Legion that much. I went to the Olympic because, like I said, that guy there was at Hollywood Legion.
The guy who got in trouble.
Yeah, the guy that caused all the trouble. Yeah, like I said, I met Eileen. I knew George Parnassus, and I'd go to the Olympic, and I knew Eileen's son. They would give me top seats. Sometime it would be comp, or sometime I'd pay. I didn't, because his son and Eileen several times would say, hey, you got a seat. So when I got to the Olympic, I'm sitting next to Joe Seeker. My ticket is right next to Joe Seeker. He just had come from the joint, not from behind that boxing thing. So I didn't know that until I got there. And this guy told me, said, that I took to the boxing with me. He knew of Joe Seeker. He said, man, if I'd have known you was going to be sitting next to that man, I wouldn't have gone down there. I said, because they might have come in and started shooting. So, but They, when I paid for the tickets, and they would give me good seats.
Where would you sit, ringside or up on the balcony?
No, no, I didn't sit up in the balcony. I sit kind of not exactly on the ring side, about maybe 3 or 4 rows back.
On the floor, though?
Yeah, on the floor. Hmm.
And who's Joe Sika? Tell me about Joe Sika.
He's deceased now.
That's all you can say?
That's all I'm
Okay.
saying. Yeah.
I'll ask Don.
He was a good little fighter. He was, I took him to Guadalajara. He fought down in Guadalajara, and I went down there with him. And he we were staying in the hotel there, and all the waiters and everything, we were fighting a Spanish fighter in Guadalajara, so they were saying that Dwight's gonna get knocked out. Tommy, they're gonna knock him out. So I'm sitting at the ring. It was about 3 rows back, and the guy was giving Dwight a good fight, and Dwight didn't seem to be up to his standards. So he knew I had bet quite a bit on him. And he looked over there at me, and he said when he looked over there and saw the expression on my face, he went in there and knocked this boy out.
Steinle.
Yeah.
Howie Steinle.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. Somebody offed him for some reason, I don't know. Yeah, Johnny Flores and I were very good friends. See here? His father talked him into, see that? Johnny Flores.
Yeah, Johnny Flores. Yeah, he fell in the elevator shaft to the city jail.
But I don't know about that.
Oh, okay. You're not going to say anything.
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
He trained Corey, and when Corey was a kid, and brought him all the way through. And when he got to making money, Corey's father told him he got rid of Johnny. Johnny was a nice guy. Mm.
He used to come in Playroom?
Oh, yeah. Mm, yeah. I'd go to his home, and one of those things. We were friends. Before the riot, I had a lot of different nationalities, Caucasian, Italians, and they would come into my place. But after the riot, and they acted so bad, they kind of stopped coming into the place. You know what I mean? To me, I believe that they're really messing boxing up. The way that the things that they're pulling and the decisions that they're giving out in one of those things, it's ridiculous. And like I said, that's their business. But they're going to kill the whole. People not going to have confidence in it. You know what I mean? And that's just with the few guys that are in it now. That before it was an honor. You fought what you know, how you knew, or what you knew. But now they can tell you. I remember one time I was went with Joe Louis. You know, he refereed some boxing. Yeah, I mean wrestling. You remember? After he had retired, I went to the wrestling match, and I'm sitting in the room, and these 2 wrestlers that are getting ready to go into the ring, I hear one of them say, "Look, I'll take the first fall, you take the second, and then I'll take you take the third. So you win this one, and when we get up to Sacramento, I'll win that one." You know what I mean? I heard that, and so what do you think? You're gonna bet your money on it? I remember before my mother died, I came home. She loved wrestling. That was when they had Gorgeous George and all them. And my mother lived upstairs, and I lived downstairs. And I came home kind of about 9:30, and her apartment was right on the front. And I heard her holler, "Kill him, kill him." And I ran up there. I pulled my gun out, and I ran up there, thinking that somebody was bothering my mother. And I got up there, she and these ladies up there looking at a wrestling match. You understand what I mean? And I said, look, mother, those things are fake. Oh, no, they're not. I said, don't worry. But it's one of those things.
You're saying boxing's become like wrestling.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's exactly. They can tell you the winner before they go in the ring. And they need to do something about it, because the fighters these days are not as good of fighters. They don't train. And one of those things, and all these different titles and things that they got, this division got a heavyweight champion, that division's got a heavyweight champion. That don't make sense.
Even when you watched boxing, they still had some fixed fights going on.
Oh
Right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but it wasn't that obvious though. You understand what I mean?
That's what I want to know from you. What is the difference? It wasn't that obvious?
It wasn't that obvious. I'll put it like that. You see, a guy might take a blow and fall down. You understand what I mean? These guys are still on their feet and they give the loser the decision. That's the difference.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. See, they were better actors then than they have now. The guy told me that Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay at that time, see, when they pushed him back in the ring and he wanted to quit and he didn't know what was going down, and then that right then told me, look, if you're not in on the no, don't bet your dough. When I was in the place, people would come in and say, Tommy, have a drink. Well, I did not drink no fake drink. I'd either drink Johnny Walker Black Label or nothing. You understand what I mean? So
that was your drink.
That was my drink. In my place, there was a couple of ladies sitting over at the bar having a drink. So one of the guys, he was a Caucasian guy, he says to me, he says, hey, Tommy, there's some fine-looking chicks over there. Introduced me to them. I said, look, I've been coming into your place for many years. I said, I either bring someone or I come alone. I said, I've never asked you to introduce me to one of your customers. I'm not going to introduce you to them. I'm not a pimp. I said, I don't have no prostitutes in my place, and don't you ever do that again. I would consider this beer drinker who come in my place and have 3 or 4 beers every day, he got the same treatment that a guy that would come in one day and buy the house and everybody else would drink. You understand what I mean? I did not discriminate your activity. The only thing I required, I didn't want a lot of cursing, a lot of loud talking, and one of those things in there, and not fool with the ladies that come in. See, a lot of ladies would come in there alone. And it was just my policy. This is Jimmy Witherspoon. He's a singer. It's one of his good songs, and nobody's business if I do. He was my celebrity bartender, and I'm pointing to him as not to pour too much out of that bottle. Mayor Bradley, Diane Watson, Congressman, and Nate Holden. This is Ike Chestnut. He was in the Playroom. It's John Hall, Bud Ferrello, Don Frazier. This one was made in the Playroom. That's Sarah Vaughan, Lionel Hampton, O.C. Smith. He's got a church now. Here is the first black umpire, and this is Kid Gavilan here. This is Your Life with Satchel Paige. That was made in the Playroom. There's Carmen McRae. This is little Esther Phillips here. That's me. Here's Joe Lewis, his wife Martha, my wife Gussie, and me. And this is Grace Holden. She was one of the first black female to have a boxing license, and that's Dwight Hawkins. This is Jake Shagru. He had a gym. Uncle Milton Burrell, he was in the Playroom. That's Brock Peters He's my celebrity bartender, and he's pouring these guys a drink. Andrew Hatchett. He was assistant secretary to President Kennedy. And this is Gertrude Gibson. She was a columnist for the Los Angeles Sentinel and other newspapers, and that's me. That's Kenneth up there. That's Brad Pye. And that's me, and that's Mrs. Hahn there. And his son, this is James Hahn here. That's me. Maggie Hathaway is, and she's on this picture also. She's instrumental through Mr. Hahn to make it possible that Afro-Americans could belong to these different club, golf courses club. This is Johnny Cochran and H.B. Barnum. This is James Brown. And that's...
Was that the Playroom?
Yeah, this is at the Playroom. That's the bar was right behind us. That's at the Playroom. Yeah.
Who else is there? Is that part of his group or?
No, this is a
Looks like
friend.
Lord.
This is a friend of his. This is me, and these two guys here, Joe and this guy, are brothers. That's Carmen McRae, again, and that's me. And you know who this is? This is Stymie.
The Little Rascals, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He used to come in here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.